Hello, I'm Eve, the Creative Curator. Welcome to today's video where I'm going to be teaching you how to make a fanny pack. So this fanny pack tutorial, it's about 30 minutes in total, but obviously you can pause, skip ahead and so on and so forth. But you'll end up with a gorgeous, and I absolutely love this, fanny pack, or if you're from the UK, bumbag. And I've made this one from upholstery fabric. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. It's so easy to make when you follow the tutorial. And yeah, I can't wait to show you the process. So if you're from the US, you probably refer to this as a fanny pack, and my UK audience would, much like me, probably call it a bum bag. Now, bum bags go in and out of fashion. They have moments of being fashionable and moments of just being god awful. But I happen to love them. They've come in very handy during the summer months or the lockdown months. I've been using one back home. My dad even used it. It's the one with the water bottle and the front pockets, which is what the pattern. So I've got the pattern here as well, which I'll be showing you throughout the video tutorial. But the original pattern actually has like a section for the water bottle and two side pockets as well as the main front pocket. For this version, I've simplified it. So this one is kind of, it makes a great gift. It's great if you're going to like a festival or you're going out for a couple of hours. You don't need to take much with you. I'm just going to jump up and show you what it looks like on. So the bum bag is opened and closed with this two kind of loop section. I've eliminated the zipper just because it's more sustainable. You'll have to excuse my waterproof trousers rustling away. I'm actually popping out shortly and it's pouring and pouring and pouring with rain. So it's a simple case of you pull the strap, getting stuck with my headphones. You put the strap through the two loops and then you feed it back on itself through one. Okay, and you can see now it's actually doing it properly. So if I pull it tight, and you can see the light's not amazing in here. I have put my black top, well, it's not really black, it's maroon, my black trousers on so that you can see a bit clearer. But it's great. You can put, what should we put in it? And we'll put my cookies. These are my Dutch cookies. Pop those in. Oh, look, there we go. It gives it a bit more substance, more substantial like that, isn't it? Let me get these wires out of the way. So as you can see, I love it. I love the fabric. I think it's the fabric that's really made this version particularly delightful for me. I love it. I don't have, you could add a button to the top, which I have not done to this one, but it is in the pattern instructions. But I just quite like having the easy access. It should technically have a zipper. I decided in the design of making this, or in the design process of this fanny pack pattern, I actually eliminated the zipper because I know while some of us would go to the effort of cutting out a zipper and reusing it, a lot of people wouldn't. And I thought if we just have no zipper, then it's more sustainable. So you can get the pattern from my shop, shop.thecreativecurator.com, and I'll pop the link below. And if you've got any questions, do let me know in the comments and let me know your thoughts of the final piece right at the end of the video. Okay, so you're going to start by gathering, not your thread, the pattern pieces for the top. And this is sections 12, 13, 14 and 15. And you'll want to lay them out, cut them out, make sure you mark in all the notches. You can see we've got on both the left and right section, and then here we have a straight line going across on both the top and the lower section. This is the opening for the top of the fanny pack, so make sure you notch these because this is where you're going to overlap it. And if I remove those pieces, I can show you what that looks like. So you can see I've already folded my seam allowance over, and I'm going to zigzag stitch mine. You can serge yours or overlock your raw edges first before turning them, or you can do it the lazy way like me. So I've turned over my seam allowance, and then what will happen is I will stitch along here, I'll stitch along here, and then I'll overlap them. You'll see that there's a notch. Can you see that? And that's the overlap line. So I'm going to put the top part and I'm going to lap it over the lower part here like this, and that creates your opening. And then you would stitch these in place to hold them. This is once you've sewn all the other sections, and then this will go here like this, and this will go here like this, Those will be seamed, pressed, folded open and top stitched in place, and I will do that now and then show you what it looks like. Okay, as you can see, I've now finished the front. Well, this is the top section. It's all been top stitched as well. You can see all the additional zigzag stitching. So along the front pocket opening, and then the side sections have been added on and top stitched in place. I'll bring it a bit closer so you can see. So this is what would be the opening. So that would be the top, and you would put your hand in and get your bits out. But that essentially is the top of the fanny pack ready to go. And I love this fabric. I love how blingy it was, or is. It was a small, I think this section was about 65 centimeters by 60 centimeters. It was given to me by a neighbor, and I love it. It's not something I would go out and buy, because I just normally wouldn't. But I love it. It's a little bit blingy, and I think it's going to make an amazing fanny pack. So I'm going to move on to the next section. Okay, so the next section when making your fanny pack, step 2, is to actually create the straps. And the reason for this is we want these to all be ready to rock, basically, for when we put the main sections together. So you have two pieces, two pattern pieces. You can see these are numbered 17 and 18. 18 is the longer section. Now, what I would recommend is, you can see that one is shorter than the other by quite a bit. My recommendation would be to make these as long as you feel they're needed. If you were to take the back pattern piece, and if you measure from here to here, so this section, and then measure the length of section 17, the strap, and strap 18, and make sure that there's more than enough to go 1.5 times around your body. If there isn't, you could extend the straps, and if there's too much, you can always make the straps shorter. I've just made them quite big to go around me so I can tie them in knots and things. So to make the straps, you're going to cut one piece of each and cut them with the right side of the fabric up. You can see I've already done that, and what I've also done, you need to make sure that you mark in the notches. You can see here, can you see that? My notches are marked in. That is actually going to be when your seam is sewn with a 1 centimeter seam allowance, and you press it, you're going to open your strap, and that's going to be, those notches will be your fold lines. Can you see? So your seam allowance will be pressed open and your fold, and then the seam will actually run along the back of the strap. And you can see that clearly pointed out on the pattern. The folded line is the top folded edge, the bottom line is the bottom folded edge, and then this is your stitch line and this is your stitch line, and these will meet at the back. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to sew these and then bring them back to show you exactly what that looks like. Okay, so I've done one. This has taken me about half an hour, mostly because the fabric is really annoying. So what I had done is I stitched along here 1 centimeter, and then I used the safety pin and I attached it to the top section, and I pulled it back through on itself to create kind of like a worm. This is after pressing the seam. So as you can see, not all the way along is my seam allowance pressed open because of pulling it through. It's gone a bit distorted. So your options are to either just allow it to do what it does naturally within. You can finger press it. You can see, I mean, it's a lovely strap, minus the wrinkles. What I'm probably going to do now is actually top stitch. So I'm going to make sure that my seam is lined up, and I'm just going to top stitch through the center the entire way with a zigzag stitch, which is what I have done on here. And I'm probably going to do that all the way along so there's some consistency in style. And then I'm going to repeat it for the shorter strap, which will probably take another 20 minutes. So I will come back when both of these sections are done and we can move on to the next stage. Okay, next up is to attach the top to the back. So you can see I've got section 16 ready. This is the back, and I'm going to take out the pins. I'm so loving this fabric. Oh, hang on, I just have to unplug my iron. You can smell it getting too hot. So this is the back section. You should only have one piece. And as you can see, I'm going to move the pattern piece away. I've marked in the notches. You can see here and here. These are really important because that is where this and this are going to sit. There and there. Obviously, we're going to do right sides together. And that is 1 centimeter in is going to finish there. And I'm going to pin it in place. And then the same on the other side. I'm going to find my notch. Where is it? Here. I'm going to overlap by 1 centimeter for my allowance. Pin it in place. And then the rest should fit nicely. Pin, I always pin. Some people say don't bother pinning. I do. I think it helps to stop fabric from stretching and losing your way. But obviously everybody has their own way of doing things. Try and stay within the seam allowance. This fabric is really, it shows the holes. And then one more here. And that's it. I'm now going to sew that. Okay, so we have the back. The top section has been sewn to the back. I haven't top stitched along here just because if I were to do so, although it would look lovely, it's going to seal off this section and I need to be able to attach this part to this part of the front. So for now, I'm not top stitching. What I normally do is I go in and do that after. And for this, I'm actually going to have to because as you can see, I'm being the lazy seamstress and I'm not actually, I haven't overlocked anything. I haven't finished my seam edges and the raw edges will fray. So I will need to deal with that afterwards. So the next step is to take your front section. Now normally there are multiple pieces for this. There's side pockets and then there's like a water pocket for your water bottle, but this is the simplified version. So all I've done is pinned the different sections together and then cut the panel as one piece. You're going to want to make sure, actually there are no notches on here, but this corner and this corner, note that these are where this unstitched section and this unstitched section will attach. So that will line up here. And this one will line up here. I think that's just in shot, isn't it? And then obviously this is where the strap gets inserted, which is the next step. So we are going to remove the pins like so. I've got far too many pins going on, but I do like my pins. I'm only taking out the pins that go around the actual pattern piece and not the bit that's holding the sections together. Although I could do that and show you how I did that. You can see I've got the measurements of the actual piece of fabric I used for this. So it was 65 centimeters by 58 centimeters. And there's that one piece, which is the front. If I were to remove these pins also, you'll be able to see that in actual fact, these would normally be cut separate. And there's like, this would be like almost like the lining because there'd be another layer on top that with a pocket flap here and then the end section, which would work much like this does with your flappage. Okay, so I'm going to move those out of the way, and then what we're going to do is I've got to get my bearings. So that's the bottom, this is the top, so there should be a notch there actually, but I'm just going to wing it. So this one is going to go here like this. Now we're going to have to do it on the reverse because obviously we already have a stitch line. So I'm going to flip everything over and then start from this side. And we're going to pin, and you can see my hands have just maneuvered that fabric out the way for now. Grab a pin and pop it in. There's one. And then the opposite side, I'll pull that seam allowance out of the way, pop that in there like that, and grab a pin, and voila. And then obviously this section here. So this will be tricky to sew because you're having to pivot that point there around. So you might find it easier to sew this first and then pin this all together after. I'm just going to go for it because I've done it often enough now. There should be notches on here actually. I'm a bit naughty. With this fabric it is a bit faffy. The fabric's actually upholstery fabric, or rather interiors fabric, I guess is the correct term. And my pins don't like it. I have to fight them in. And use your fingers to manipulate fabric. Like, don't let the fabric tell you where it's going. You tell the fabric where it's going. And feel forward to skip ahead if this bit's terribly boring for you. I'm actually going to pop it in case there are any newbies to sewing who want to watch the process. And there we go, we're back at that section there, that junction pivot point. So I'm going to connect, going to match up my pivot points there. That's what I'm going to sew up to. Okay, so you can see I've got a little bit too much ease. So what I'm going to do is use my digits to manipulate it, and preferably talk without a pin in my mouth. This is why I pin things. It's easier to keep things under control then. Like that, see? And then that ease is becoming less and less as I manipulate it. And then, okay, almost gone. Don't be afraid of excess fabric. As long as you've got notches, which I haven't, and your notches line up, then just manipulate the fabric. And this is the one reason I don't understand why people don't use pins. Because they are amazing at just helping you keep things where they need to be. Oof, that's a hard one. Perfect. That one actually fits perfect. So one more pin and we're done. Although I do have to deal with this section up here. That I think is going to have to be sewn. Stop 1 centimetre away. There. Ta-da! Fabulous. Right, that's now ready to sew. I will do that and I will come back. Okie dokie. As you can see, I've sewn this. What I ended up doing is I stitched this part, and I stitched this part, and then I pivoted stuff so that I was able to then get in and do this by itself. So if we turn it through, I'll just finger press the seam for now. I haven't obviously pressed it. You should. And you can see that's where I had pivoted it. That's a little seam there, and then also here. If I turn it through, you can see that it's looking somewhat like a bum bag or fanny pack. Ta-da! How cool is that? Obviously that needs pressing, and I will probably go in and top stitch it as well. So you can see it looks pretty fab. What we now need to do is attach the straps. So this is really important and really tricky. I'm going to turn everything back inside out. You're going to want to make sure you've got one strap either side, and because this is the, oh gosh, hang on a minute, we're going to turn it inwards to go outwards. So that's the top because that's overlapping. This is the front, this is the back. So when we're attaching, oh blimey, sorry. When we're attaching the straps, we're going to put them on the inside so that when they're stitched and turned through, they're naturally out there. So that's, yeah, that's right. I want the white to be facing up the wrong side. So I'm going to pop that there. I'm going to pin it in place. Now, it's really important that you pin this not going like this, where your line of stitches will go, but to go this way, adjacent, because we're going to leave this pin in to make sure it doesn't shift. So make sure, oh hang on, I'm not butted all the way up. You want to make sure you're butted as high up as possible because it normally is quite a tight 1 centimetre. It's a bit of a tight squeeze. I don't know if you can see that. It might be too far away from the camera. Okay. And then the same on this side. And it's really important that you put your pins in this direction because once you've done that, I'm just going to double check. So that's the front and that's, yeah, perfect. So you want your seam on your strap to be facing upright. Do the same for the opposite side. So you can see one end is finished and the other end isn't. So the end that is unfinished, you're going to attach. Fold this in. You want this all to be contained. And then do the same with the other side. So I want the wrong side facing up. I want my raw edge and I'm going to pin it over here. If this wasn't a tutorial, I would have just whacked on a doodle what's it. But I'll do it right because I'm showing you guys at the same time. Da, 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 da. I'm just going to grab a photo of this process because that will help people who are following the photo tutorial. Now you've got everything tucked in here and you want it all to stay here and you're going to bring that over the top. And in theory you should have notches, but obviously I didn't put notches because I'm a plonk. Now I like to sew with the raw edge to the right of my needle, the seam allowance, so I'm going to pin from this section and I'm going to pop a pin there. Ooh. So I will sew across here and then I'm going to follow it round. And I want another pin up here. And then now it's a case again of matching notches if you had put them in place, which I clearly hadn't. So I'm just going to roughly guesstimate where they should be. If you have a serger, hopefully you have, or an overlocker, hopefully you have already finished your fabric edges, your seam edges. I clearly haven't, which is why I top stitch. Yeah, she really should have been called like a lazy designer rather than, I don't know. I wonder sometimes where the creative curator came from. Could have had such a better, more appropriate name. Okay, oof. This fabric is really tough, but it's going to look beautiful when it's finished. Are you as excited as me? I hope so. I'm super excited. It's going to be a great little, and also remember that if you're stuck for like present ideas for the holidays, this is a great little, get some snazzy fabric, and it's a great, you could extend it to make it bigger, more of a hip bag. But look, okay, we're done. I'm going to sew it and I'm going to come back to show you what happens. Okay, I'm super excited about this. So I have sewn along, you can see I've still got my pins here. You can see them glinting. I've sewn along to secure my strap. I've come around and then on the other side you can see my pins. So I'm going to start by removing the pins that I can easily remove. I can't do these ones because those are the pointy ones. So we're going to go inside the bag now. So you can see it's all been stitched, but I still have my raw edges which I need to deal with. So I could, if I wanted to, I could get my serger or my overlocker out and I could finish those now. And I could do these ones and I could do this one as well. But for now, I'm just going to open it and show you what it looks like. So you're going to find your opening at the top, okay? Ta-da! And then put your hand in, gather it all up, pull it through. Oh my gosh, it's so cool! I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. Okay, so you can see that's my, I probably need to get my screwdriver, my seam poker, to poke that nice and pointy. Do you know what, I'm actually going to have to go. If you're particular like me, what you can do is you can fold it. So I fold this way to create the point within, and I hold it in place with my thumb, push it through, and my thumb is still there, and I'm going to use my screwdriver. Oh, give it a bit of a poke. There we go. See, that's a much nicer finish. Obviously all of this needs pressing with a pressing cloth because the foil for me is meltable. I don't want to melt it. And then, oh, I found a pin. There we go. That's the other side. So I need to do it from here. That's so exciting. There's one. And then there's the other. Brilliant. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to fold, going to fold, going to fold. And then when I bring that through, it should be a lot neater. You can see I didn't do it as tight as I should. That should have been sat flush. I've got a step. But no matter. How exciting is that? Look at that. Look, it's a little fanny pack. Amazing. So obviously I could go in and I can top stitch. What I would normally do is stitch along here to reinforce it, because that's obviously going to take quite a lot of weight if I put stuff in here. And again on the other side, so I would just zigzag stitch there. I might also go in and zigzag stitch along the perimeter here and along here now that I can, and maybe along the bottom as well to give it a bit more structure. But I love that. I think it's blooming marvellous, don't you? Look at that, it's so gorgeous. Totally will use that. I need to add a button and a little loop, button here, loop here, and the D-rings, which go on the shorter strap, which I will show you in the next step. And then we have it, a pretty damn awesome fanny pack. I love it. I'm going to do some top stitching now. Okay, so I've pressed the curved seam using my tailor's ham, and now I'm just going to press the straight edge. I've got this very cool wool mat that I ordered online. As you can see, I succeeded in top stitching one, but trying to get in there to do this was just impossible. And so the lower edge, you can see that I've literally top stitched it down in place, which is kind of cool because it blings it out a little bit more anyway. So I'm very happy with it. Now I'm just going to press this straight edge here, and let me just make sure. So I'm finger pressing first. You can see I've pushed the seam allowance down, and then I'm pressing like this. I do need to sort my seam allowance on the inside because it's a raw edge. I don't really want to stitch along the top there because it will ruin it. And then let's grab this. This is my pressing cloth. And let's just give it a little. This is why I don't iron. I am such a faff. I'm terrible. But my mum was someone who she doesn't iron so much anymore, but growing up she used to iron everything. It used to drive me potty. I don't know if any of you have had that, and then you end up not actually ironing when you're older. I still need to trim my threads. Okay, the last section here. There we go. Oh, I've just crinked that out. Yeah, super. There we go. So that's pressed flat. Now I need to attach the D-rings, which we'll do next. Okay, so these are O-rings. These are D-rings. As you can see, I don't appear to have, although these are the perfect colour, I don't have the same size, more than one. I think these were samples for a collection I was working on. And then I have these square rings. I don't know, maybe those are, I don't know what those are called. I only have one of these. It's a heavier weight D-ring in a kind of pewter. So I'm loving the gold. Let me see if I can zoom in. I'm loving the gold on this, and I feel like this could work, and this obviously, but the problem I have is I only have one of each size. So I'm going to put those aside for now. I only have one of those. I don't feel that the silver works. I think it's too, because this is so gold and pink, and I feel like the silver doesn't work at all. So I'll set those aside, and then I think I'm going to use these. So the next step is just to make sure that they fit. Yes. Brilliant. Okay. So then how do you connect these? Let me zoom back out again so you can see a bit better. There we go. You're going to want to attach them to the shortest side. So that's this side. I didn't even think about which one I was putting them on. Let me just try this on my body. Okay, so I'm going to attach them to the shorter edge. And the way to do that is I want the opening or the closure, the bit that stick together, to go on the reverse, on the wrong side. And then again there. So I have the two sections. And then these are going to get stitched here in place. Maybe like that. And I would stitch, there needs to be enough space that you can get this under your sewing machine without these getting in the way. And I would do like a box with a cross in it. I'm going to pin those in place for now. I'm literally just going to clip it in place for now. And then how it works when you're wearing the fanny pack is you thread it through and then through. And that just helps to secure it in place. See? And I quite like how that works with the gold of the fabric. Should I zoom in so you can see that? So this would be stitched, this section here. And then this is how it's closed. And I think that works really well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I will show you when it's done. Okay, so it's finished. I love it. I love the colours. I love the gold. I love how as you can see, the square rings have worked out. I ended up just zigzag stitching along. I felt that because there was no visible straight stitch on the entire fanny pack, that it didn't make sense to do a box with a cross. So instead I just zigzagged over it, because then it's keeping consistency with everything else. So I really, really love it. It's great. I can put things inside it. I had my phone in it when I was taking photos, but obviously I'm using my phone now to record. So I can pop in, the camera's too heavy. There we go. As you can see, it holds things without falling out. And that would be attached around my body. And I love it. I've got some photos of me wearing it, testing it out, and I will add those. So, I mean, if you see, it's quite a big fanny pack. It's great if you're popping out. You could wear it around your waist, over your hips, over your back, shoulder even. Yeah, so lots of options, and I think it's amazing. If you want to make your own, don't forget to purchase the pattern from my shop, which you can find shop.thecreativecurator.com, and I'll add all the links to the different things that I used below. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!